next hear from Maggie, who is a peer for High Rocky harm reduction.
Thank you so much. Hi, I feel really weird having this upbeat personality right now, but I can't fight it, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Hi, I'm Maggie Saldine, happy to be here with y'all tonight. So many awesome, familiar faces and colleagues. For those of you who don't know me, like Dylan said, I'm a peer at High Rockies Harm Reduction. I'm also the founder and director, and we provide evidence-based programming for people who use drugs and their friends and family here in Summit, as well as Eagle, Lake, Garfield, and Pickens County for now. So hopefully we can connect after this too. But today I'm here to talk a little bit more about my personal story, which I am very public with, but I don't always lead with or really talk about this stuff as much. So super honored to be invited to represent myself and the people that I love with that story tonight, or some of it. I grew up in Carbondale, which is about 2 hours away from here, but very similar, small, rural resort, a little bit of agriculture, a lot of Spanish speaking, some art too, a little bit of everything, but a lot of drug use, a lot more than people seem super willing to talk about. And while I can't represent Summit County as well, I think my story is one that we see over and over again, that's often underlooked or overlooked, and not everyone has the, I wouldn't call it courage. I don't know what it is that drives me to be able to do this, but not everybody can do it. So I just really think it's important to share how real these stories are in our rural communities. I am very public about the fact that I lost my mother to a heroin overdose when I was 15 years old in 2006. You don't have to do the math. I'm 33 today, 34 next week. And I think that's a really important thing for people to know about me, but not because I want pity or even sympathy or anything like that. But to me, it kind of explains what my childhood was like, that the overdose death alone was only one trauma in a sea of episodes. When my mom passed, I was 15, I was injecting heroin, smoking meth, snorting cocaine, pill shopping from hospitals and doctors, pretty much whatever I could get my hands on to disassociate. And my mom's death was in a lot of senses a blessing for me, because it was the thing that really allowed me to escape that cycle of drugs and addiction and violence that many of us struggle with and many families are still stuck in today. I now have 5.5 years of sobriety from alcohol, but that didn't happen overnight. But there was a lot of turning points in my life that on paper looked very negative, death, divorce, moving, that really made me stop and think, well, what am I doing? And I think a lot about what that 15-year-old girl was gonna do with her life before my mom passed, because she didn't have a lot of options in her own mind. And it was a long, long journey to that day to today. And I believe that getting sober is only half the battle, that getting free from our substances of choice is a huge, huge, huge difficult thing. And it's only part of it. And it's kind of a tool that allows us to do the real healing and the real deep diving. I think it's interesting to note that I've never really had a problem putting heroin or cocaine or meth, but alcohol and still today nicotine and some other things have been a lot harder. A lot of that goes to cultural acceptance, but addiction is a funny thing and it latches on in different ways for different people. I believe in harm reduction because it's what saved my life. it's all about baby steps. And I didn't decide to quit drinking one day and that was it. It feels like that sometimes, but it was a long progress. I love to tell the story. I quit drinking hard liquor and then this is kind of dating myself. I quit drinking Four Locos, which back then had a lot of caffeine and a lot of sugar. And so I quit drinking hard alcohol. I quit drinking Four Locos. I quit using cocaine. I quit drinking hard alcohol, I quit drinking Four Locos, and I quit using cocaine again. And it was a cycle, and I still see people in that cycle of trying to figure out where it works for them. For me, alcohol is not a part of the solution. It's most of the problem, and it was for my mom for most of her life. But now we're seeing things like, we know from a lot of empirical evidence that things like methadone are the gold standard, and having these things in our community is gonna make such a huge difference. I'm so excited about the work being done there. But we're starting to see advances legally and psychologically and medically in plant medicine. In the 5 years since I quit drinking, I have been put on ketamine by doctors, which was a hard choice to figure out how that worked in my recovery process. But I don't know any doctors that think I shouldn't be medicated or partially sedated. And figuring out how that works for me, how to use medications to my benefit, because there's a lot of options out there. Some things work for some people and others work for other people. But I think that having this greater acceptance around all the pathways is going to save a lot of lives. Because Suboxone saves lives, methadone saves lives, and now we're seeing ketamine, psilocybin, MDMA, and ibogaine saving lives. And sometimes that's hard to digest, but we just have all the options, and we want to have all the options because we have all the people, we have all the economic backgrounds, all the lifestyles in our Rocky Mountain towns. And so I'm excited to see us have all the options. Thank you for having me. I think that's enough for now, but so happy to be here.